When we study history and the courageous fights for freedom, we often hear about the well-known leaders. But the largest uprising of enslaved people in American history happened long before the Civil War. It involved hundreds of men. They marched in military formation, armed and organized. They intended to march straight into New Orleans and take the city. This is the incredible, heavily suppressed story of the 1811 German Coast Uprising. To understand why it happened, we must look at the German coast of Louisiana in 1811. It was the heart of America's booming sugar industry, and sugar cultivation was notoriously brutal. Enslaved men and women worked in grueling, dangerous conditions. Life expectancy in the sugar fields was staggeringly low. The plantation owners maintained control through severe discipline and constant surveillance. But among them was a determined leader. He worked as a supervisor, guiding the other laborers. Because of his position, Deslondes had mobility. He could travel between plantations and gather news from the outside world. And the news he brought was revolutionary. Just a few years earlier, enslaved people in Haiti had successfully overthrown their masters. They had defeated Napoleon's army and established an independent republic. The Haitian Revolution proved that freedom could be taken by force. Inspired by Haiti, Deslondes began organizing. The plan was highly ambitious and carefully structured. The plan would begin in January, when the harvest was complete and the estate was peaceful. On the night of January 8, 1811, Deslondes and a small group made their move at the Andry Plantation. They entered the secure area quickly, while the resident managed to step away safely into the morning light. Armed with muskets and machetes, they didn't flee into the swamps. They formed up in military columns. Beating drums to signal their advance, they began marching southeast along the Mississippi River, straight toward New Orleans. As they moved from plantation to plantation, their ranks swelled. The uprising was entirely organized. What started as a small group quickly grew into an army of hundreds. It was an unprecedented mobilization. They burned several plantation houses to the ground, targeting the symbols of the system that held them. Panic surged through the German coast. Wealthy planters fled their homes in terror, racing toward the city to warn the authorities. When news reached New Orleans, the government reacted with overwhelming force. Governor Claiborne immediately locked down the city and dispatched regular U.S. Army troops, supported by local militias. Meanwhile, a group of riders assembled to restore order, moving quickly across the landscape. Deslondes and his men paused at the Destrehan plantation, likely preparing to face the approaching troops. On January 10, the confrontation occurred. The U.S. troops and militias converged on the rebel army. It was not a long battle. The rebels had courage and numbers, but they lacked ammunition and artillery. The well-equipped militia and federal troops broke the rebel lines within hours. Dozens of men were killed in the fighting. They continued their journey into the peaceful landscape, moving forward together with hope. But the militia relentlessly hunted them down with bloodhounds. They were shown no mercy. Charles Deslondes was captured. His execution was swift and brutal. In the days that followed, tribunals were set up. The interrogations were short. Nearly 100 men were sentenced to death. The executions were carried out entirely without due process. To send a message, the authorities severed the heads of the executed men and placed them on pikes. They lined the river from the plantations all the way to Jackson Square in New Orleans, a distance of 40 miles. It was a deliberate, horrific warning to anyone who might ever consider taking up arms again. Following the uprising, the government and plantation owners quickly moved to control the narrative. They downplayed the scale and organization of the rebellion. They referred to it simply as a riot by misguided criminals. The magnitude of the 1811 uprising faded from national memory. It was absent from history textbooks. But the memory survived quietly in the oral traditions of families along the Mississippi River. Through stories passed down from generation to generation, the truth of what happened remained alive. Centuries later, historians finally began piecing together the fragmented court records and military dispatches. They revealed that Charles Deslondes had not led a disorganized mob. He had led an army. The German Coast Uprising challenges a fundamental misunderstanding about American slavery. Enslaved people rarely accepted their condition passively. Resistance was a constant reality. They possessed a profound understanding of liberty and were willing to pay the ultimate price for it. The 1811 uprising did not end the institution of slavery. That would take another 50 years and a civil war. But it demonstrated the fragile nature of the system. It proved that beneath the surface of total control, a powerful desire for freedom was always burning. Today, these individuals are slowly reclaiming their place in history. Their march was an act of profound courage against impossible odds. The sacrifices they made along the riverbanks of Louisiana were never truly erased. Their story is a testament to the enduring human spirit. History rarely remembers those who fail. But their fight reminds us of the true cost of freedom. If these stories matter to you, help us keep them alive.